we get started with this podcast, I wanted to remind everyone of the free gifts that we still have available to offer for everyone, which is free downloadable targets that you can download, print out, and actually utilize at the range. So you don't have to worry about those costs or those fees just when it comes to any kind of targets when you go to the range. Also, if you're a new shooter looking at getting into firearms and looking for a spot to actually start or where to begin, go ahead, take advantage of our free basic marksmanship pistol class. That's available as well for you to go ahead, download, and take some classes and just get you squared away. Those are our gifts from us to you. Take advantage of it, and I hope to see you soon. Let's go ahead and get it started. Welcome, everybody, to Digital Defenders Podcast, brought to you by Virtual Firearms Association. This is Chris, your host. We have a special guest here today. We have Stephanie. Say hi.
Hi, everyone.
All right. So, Stephanie, tell us about yourself. What got you into firearms?
What got me into firearms was I had done some shooting with my dad growing up because, I mean, it's a boatload of fun. But, it was casual. It was nothing serious. And then several years back, I found myself in a situation that wasn't the best. Not that somebody ever actually laid hands on me, but the threat was real enough for me to kind of reevaluate myself. And I went, this is not okay. Any stretch of the imagination. And I knew that if I was going to be successful in anything in life, I needed to take my own safety and security because no one's coming to save you. I needed to do that for myself. And here we are almost 5 years later. So that's sort of the short end of how I got into firearms. I started going to the range a lot. I took classes at the range where I work now. And I just got really good at it and I enjoyed it. And I would be there 2 and 3 times a week. I literally became part of the walls there. And I jokingly said to them one day, hey, y'all should hire me, not to do anything crazy, just range check-in, selling guns, things like that. So they were like, well, we could actually use some help. So that's kind of how I got started where I am at now with Free State, which was so much fun. And months go by and I get called into the office with the owners and I'm thinking I'm losing my job because I always go to the negative. And they were like, we've been watching you. And I'm like, what did I do wrong? Right. Which is so bad. I shouldn't always think negative. And they were like, you explain things really well. And I said, well, thank you. I've been a teacher in some capacity in my other life and my other jobs for a really long time. And I've kind of learned how to break things down. And they're like, we think you could teach because we've also watched you on the range. You're really good. And my response was to laugh because I thought they were joking with me, and they weren't. And so at that point, I started working with all the trainers there. I started taking other classes, and here we are today. And I always say this every day, I am so blessed that I get to do this type of work. It is so much fun. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's long hours, but it is so much fun to be able to go and teach people how to shoot. And all sorts of people. I love it. So that's kind of the condensed version of how I ended up sitting here with you for the most part.
That's an awesome thing. That's an awesome thing. When you're doing something that you love, it doesn't even feel like you're working at all. So
yeah.
I completely understand and I get it. So just some of the things that you've actually witnessed as a firearms instructor. What are some of the difficulties that you just noticed just with people going to the range, or more importantly, new shooters in general?
So because the climate has changed, right? There's more women shooting today. So I'm going to touch on women first and then overall. Is that good?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So what I notice is a lot of women are nervous to come. And I get it, because typically, let's face it, it's a very male dominated world. It is what it is. I'm just stating what I've seen. And so a lot of the times getting women in the door has always been a little difficult. But now, because of the climate, Maryland finally went shall issue, which has been great. Now more and more women are wanting to take their own safety and security in their own hands. So that's something that I've seen, even in the last 5 years, and I've loved every minute of it. a lot of my lessons are, I have a good mix of students, but I will see occasionally, people tell me we wanted to find a female instructor. We wanted to find somebody that was kind of like us in that sense and not a guy, which I've learned from everybody. I have, nothing bad to say. This is just the feedback that I've gotten from people. So I've seen that's a barrier that I think is actually slowly breaking down. So I'd like to keep that in the positive, or keep that going. But something that I've seen that I noticed a lot of new shooters, is they sometimes they don't always take the basics. They take the basics for granted, right? They're watching
Cool.
movies like John Wick, The Matrix, they're playing video games like Call of Duty. It's not like that. You got to learn how to crawl,
Hmm.
and then you start scooting maybe, and then you go up to those more advanced techniques or whatever it is. So I always tell people, look, you may want your groupings to be like that on day one, and maybe for you it'll happen. I go, but for everybody else, you gotta take the steps. One lesson one time at the range is not going to make you the most amazing shooter. you know so I always tell people, you've got to do your basics, and you've got to keep with those basics, otherwise your foundation is kind of gone. So
So with that being said, just some of the experiences that I have, just
yeah.
the firearms instructor, how is it training males versus actually training females? Have you noticed any type of difference? I'm gonna let you answer that question first.
Okay.
I add my 2 cents to that conversation.
So for me personally, typically a lot of the times I get from the women, oh, I went with my insert whoever, and they showed me this, and I'm like, not not the most accurate, right? I find that sometimes women can be a little more receptive.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the guys I've trained, and some of them, they come in with all these predispositions, and they're going to tell me how they're going to shoot. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
that's not safe. Okay, number one, we're just going to start off with that. What you're doing, whatever you're doing, that may not be safe. So for me, that's kind of the difference. I kind of laugh about it, and also their reaction to finding out the instructor's a girl is very entertaining sometimes.
I can
Um,
imagine.
I've heard it all. I've been asked if I was the assistant.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they looked at me. I was sitting with one of the instructors, and they're like, "Oh, are you the assistant?" And I went, "No." And they were like, they kind of reset for a second. They kind of had to like think that for a minute, and I was fine. I was like, that's absolutely okay. And we proceeded throughout the day. It's just things like that entertain me at this point, because I just laugh at it. It is what it is. So I mean, um, sometimes, like, again with the guys though, they'll see all this stuff on TV and they want to do that, and I'm like, we need to do basics first. We're going to start off with the 22 since you've never shot before I break out, the 45 ACP 1911 that you really want to shoot, like
Exactly.
crawl, and then we'll run. Because something that I see that it's like scary to me is when you see somebody with an inexperienced shooter with a very large firearm that they don't know how to control or handle. That scares me. That gives me anxiety, because I can just think of all the damage and the hurt that they could possibly cause themselves or others. So,
Hmm.
I always try to get them baby steps.
Exactly. I have
Yeah,
to completely agree with you just when it comes to that women shooters versus male shooters. Most of the women shooters who I've actually been to the range with or trained or so forth, they are more receptive of actually learning what it is that you're trying to teach, or especially just when it comes to just technique in general. Most guys, just when it comes to going to the range, they already have I don't know, like a know-it-all kind of personality or mentality when it comes to firearms in general. And most importantly, they've already developed a lot of bad habits because, oh, I've been to the range, I've done this before. But yet you
yeah,
wonder why you're shooting low to the left, and you're like, no, well, all I do is aim far to the right, and all my shots fall directly in the center. No, you can't Kentucky windage. I mean, I've heard it all. I heard it all.
yeah.
The number one thing I try to just promote, just in general, especially just with new shooters, just in general, is safety. We'll worry about the accuracy
Absolutely.
and and those tight shot groups once you master the fundamentals of just being safe with your shot.
Absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. I had a couple of lessons, during the week, And it was this woman's first real time. I think she maybe shot a couple times before with like her husband or boyfriend, and she did really well. And I consider really well center mass. If you're in,
Oh yeah.
the 789, if you're in there, that will stop the threat. And there's two types of shooting, right? There's defensive shooting to stop a threat, and then there's marksmanship. I always start people off like, you just want to get comfortable with the gun. You just want to know that if the poop hit the fan, right, you can
Hmm.
defend yourself and be safe about it, right? The tight groupings, the marksmanship, the distance, all of that will come with time, right? I get excited for my students. Like when I see them hitting the X, when I see them with those groupings that are, that are all center mass and they look discouraged, I'm like, no, you want to be here. This is great. We can fix this. I want you to be comfortable and get excited, and be happy with it and want to do it more, right? So
Hmm.
it's interesting. I love seeing that. Like you can almost see it in a student's eyes when they get it. You know what I mean? Like when it finally clicks and
Mhm.
I get
Right.
excited. I cheerlead for them. I'm like, go, I'm like, kick butt, you got this. I
Mhm.
get excited for them because it's great. It's a great feeling.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So y'all heard it, guys. All right. She free state firearms instructor, but guess what? That's not the only thing she does. Let's talk about she shooters.
Yes. So, a few years back, I work with my colleague Beth. Her and I run the She Shooters. And it started off because we were noticing there were a lot more women coming, and it was like right after COVID. So we were having a lot of new shooters. And, getting women into the range has always been a great, anytime we can get more women into the range, like we think it's amazing. And so when we started, it was kind of right after COVID,
Hmm.
like 2021-ish. And we were like, all right, this is what our model is going to be. We're going to do like a class. We're just going to start it off with just seeing what interest is. So what we would do is we start at like 6 p.m. and we go to like, it starts at like 6:30 until 8, right? And it was a different topic. We were talking situational awareness. And as time progressed and as Maryland went shall issue, we were getting busy. And we always tried to do a different topic. What we started to do then was, and this is the best part, was now we start at like 6:30, and then at 8, we invite the women to shoot with us while the range is closed to the public. So it's only me and Beth in there, and it's all other women. And I always tell people, it doesn't matter whether this is your 100th time or your first time. Come join us, right? If you want an environment where it's just women, maybe you're a little nervous, you don't know what to do, you don't know what to ask, this is your time. This is going to be when you can ask us. And, I bring a lot of my own firearms with me. I'll be like, hey, did you want to try this? Did you want to try that? If I have it, you're absolutely welcome to use it. And, now we've grown to where our once a month, we're the third Wednesday of every month, starting at 6. And now we have around 20 to 40, sometimes 50 and up each month. One of our bigger ones was gun cleaning. We called it gun TLC. And we actually had a couple of other people help us, just because we didn't think it was going to be as popular as it was. And, I had all these amazing women bringing all their firearms, and Beth and I just kind of went around, showed them the basics. There's two different types of how they take down, unless you have a 1911. And they enjoyed that one so much, because I think they also too want to learn how to take care of their own guns. They don't have to rely on somebody, that way they can take care of it. They can maintain it. It's their firearm that they chose. So, and now we've been there for 2, 3 years now, and every time it keeps getting better. We will repeat different topics, but we always add something to it. Like we did concealed carry kind of early on, but now we've added a separate thing on holsters, which carry guns. And, I won't lie, Beth and I, we pick our options, like the ones that we love, because we're like, hey, this is the best. But we always welcome, whatever anybody, has. But, we do like our top 5 picks, what position to carry in, right? Great. You got your license and you got a gun. What am I going to do with this gun? How am I going to hold it? How am I going to transport it? Where am I going to put it? Right. So we did a whole class on holsters. Right. And, of course, I brought what I love. And we had other women there that had brought theirs. and they were able to kind of share, hey, I like this because XYZ. I don't like this because of XYZ. And, Beth and I kind of just moderate it some days because all the women will kind of teach each other, which is a great feeling. And it's really fun to watch too. So.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, She Shooters has been amazing. It's been a lot of fun, and I am excited because it keeps growing. We keep coming up with new ideas. Like this week or next week's is going to be we're working with the Fit Light system. I
Mhm.
don't know if you're familiar with that. So basically, when you go to the range, right, you're just kind of stationary, you're standing there and you're
Yes.
shooting. So what the Fit Light does is it allows us to use simunition or sim rounds
Hmm.
in a different environment. So we have a shoot house in the back, and we will set up the Fit Light disc in the different rooms, and then I will go ahead and program it and say, okay, you're going to hit on color green. If it's red, don't hit. So it's training their reaction time. It's training the ability, for them to get off of that X, right? Because when you're in a booth, right, in an indoor range, you can't really go too far. Maybe you got a little side to side motion, but that's really limited. So this gives them the opportunity to kind of get off that X and to kind of get moving and things like that. So it's fun. It's a
Oh,
lot of fun.
I know it's fun. So for those of y'all who aren't familiar as far as just what a shoot house actually is, whether you believe this or not, guys, for everyone that's out there, when you are firing rounds and you're delivering those rounds down range, your target is not just going to be standing still. That's only at the range that they're going to be standing still. They're going to be moving around, dodging to the left, rolling on the ground, diving on the ground, diving out a window. I don't know, but they're going to be moving. So with having a shoot house is actually to basically try to simulate like a real life experience where you're going to actually have to go around corners, go over some kind of obstacles, actually use cover for protection or some type
Yep.
of concealment when it just comes to you having to defend yourself against a threat or basically eliminate that threat that may be trying to come towards you. So I strongly encourage that if a place has a shoot house, definitely do that because it's a whole different ball game just
Yeah.
when it comes to delivering rounds down range. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And
that's
I always like when I'm in the lane with a student, I'm always like, yes, we are limited. I go, but think of it this way. Because I like to teach from a defensive standpoint, right? Because, you're not just going to have somebody standing dead in front of you trying to harm you, right? They're going to be moving, right? So if you can't simulate that, right, we're in an indoor range, at least move side to side a little bit if you're
exactly.
comfortable, right? Or pick up the gun and get off the X. Even if that's tilting right or left, whatever, it doesn't matter. But just start training yourself that way.
Mhm.
That way you kind of get in the habit of at least doing something else while you're shooting.
Exactly.
Because we do have like dynamic classes that go into that, but this way you can kind of do a little practice while you're doing your bill drill, or if you're just doing center mat or whatever it is that drill you're doing, adding that little element of movement to it will help out. Because again, like you said, target's not just going to stand there. they're
Exactly.
they're probably going to be moving, they are going to be moving. So you want to kind of start training yourself that way, to think that way.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Absolutely right. So I have an additional question, especially just for the new shooters and the women that are
Hmm.
coming to your classes. Just a lot of people in general. It's not even just women, to be honest with you. Most people, they have no idea what type of gun that they should actually get. Of course, some people, and to be honest with you, before I got into shooting, I was that guy also who was just like, I want the biggest, baddest gun. But bigger doesn't necessarily mean better, especially just when it comes to firearms in general. You gotta, even if you have a bigger weapon or whatever, and or a bigger round that actually goes with that firearm, if you can't actually hit your target, it's no good for you. So for new shooters that's out there, male and female, what are some firearms that you find that will be good for somebody who's new and I guess not as pricey as some of the firearms could actually get? What's your
So that
thoughts on that?
so, so that's a really good question. My first thing is I always tell people go to a range and try different brands, right? Don't just get a Glock because your cousin's brother's husband's boyfriend said it was the best thing ever, right? Get what you can comfortably use and defend yourself with. Um, some brands that I really love. One of my first firearm and my favorite, or one of my favorites, is my Canic. They're priced pretty moderately, and also don't go with a small gun because you're a girl. Okay. We're just going to dispel that right now. Um, Smaller weapons are harder to shoot. I know it's a little weird, but go with me.
Mm,
Smaller weapons are harder to shoot, right? Because that weight, that recoil is going to not be as absorbed because there's no weight in the gun. So look
absolutely.
for a compact size gun or a full size gun. You know, I love the Canic. I love the Walther PDP and also the Walther PDPF. Great gun there. I love my CZ P10. I actually have that gun in the full size version with with it's a suppressor ready. It's got the threaded barrel, and I love shooting that gun. It is absolutely amazing. And CZ, the P10 series, is priced really, really well for a good quality gun. I mean, it's a CZ. It's going to do what it needs to. It's going to do what you want it to do. Everybody loves Glock. Um, as a lefty, when I first got really into shooting, I couldn't operate a Glock because a lot of their stuff is on the right, for right-handed shooters. So it did take me a while. But Glocks are always good options. I mean, law enforcement uses them, so they've got to have, they definitely are one of the top brands. But my biggest thing for people is to get the gun that you like and that you can shoot comfortably, not somebody else. Don't let somebody else pick your gun.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
and if somebody says, if somebody asks me my favorites, I'm going to give them my favorites, but I'm also going to tell them the major brands, right? The ones that have a good reputation, that are solid guns, that are made well, that will last, that will do what you need them to do. You know, don't just get something because somebody told you to. And please try the gun before you buy it. You may not like it, and then you have a gun, and especially in Maryland, 7-day wait, you know, $10 every time you buy a gun, it adds up after a while. So get the gun that you really like that you can shoot, not the one that somebody else told you to get.
That's excellent
So yeah,
advice. Pay
try.
attention and listen because
I
everybody
mean,
wants to get the biggest, baddest gun. Because what's the most popular gun you see in the movies? The Desert Eagle, right? The 52
oh
that's being shot
yeah,
sideways and the
yeah, Deadpool. I had
exactly.
somebody asked me if I could do that, and I said, uh, I've shot a Desert Eagle like 3 times in my life. And with 2 hands, it was a stretch. So I go, well, let's break this down. You do realize that those are not real rounds, right? Like those are fake rounds for entertain, for the movie. Um,
Exactly.
you know, uh, Reality versus, movies. But
You're
I've
right.
I've seen some interesting things at the range. Uh, Very interesting. So
I
yeah,
believe it.
I yeah, I mean, I just want people to be happy and to shoot guns and to just be comfortable with it. They're becoming a lot more popular today.
Exactly.
So, I will always invite if somebody ever wants to go to the range with me, I always invite them. Come on. I got enough stuff. We could have fun. I've got,
Absolutely.
my AR, I've got my pistols. I'm like, whatever you want, I probably have. So it'll be fine. If you want to try one of each, we're good. Um, and I do that because that's what somebody did for me when I first really got into shooting. Like they would loan me their guns, or I would be at the range. Hey, do you want to try this? And that meant a lot to me. So I try to kind of pay it forward that way. And say, hey, you okay? You good? You looking at something? What can I help you with? So that's kind of my paying it forward, I guess.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you got your gun. You finally they finally picked out the gun. They know what it is that they want, and they're ready to go shooting and everything like that. What is one thing that you strongly encourage new shooters to master and be efficient at before anything else?
Ooh. Learning your gun. Learn how to take it apart, how to field trip it, how to do basic maintenance on it. Dry fire a gun too. Dry firing is the best way to train when you don't have the ability to go to the range. And take lessons. Even if it's just one lesson, take a lesson. You really want solid basics. You want your fundamentals to be solid, right? You want to get that good base and then you can grow from there. Don't just take it to the range once, not shoot that great and hate it. You
Mhm.
know, Give it time. Rome wasn't built in a day. Some people, then again, I have seen some people that can pick it up really quickly, and that's great, but don't get frustrated. Get your basics, get a lesson, uh, come take a lesson. You, me, you, whoever, right? Get those basics, get your fundamentals down, learn about it, and understand how the gun works. I find that I do spend time with people explaining how a gun works, um, because a lot of people don't know why or how they work. So I will actually kind of go through and how it works and what happens when you pull the trigger. This is what's going to happen. That way they know what to expect. Um, and I find that that helps because it helps people understand what's going to happen then when we actually get out into that range. So I guess that's kind of a long answer, but because it's hard to pick just one thing, but I would say definitely get your basics. Take a lesson, get your basics, and have fun and enjoy it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I completely agree with you just on that. Just when it comes to a firearm overall in general, understand that it's not going to be something that's going to be absolutely perfect. I mean, there's things that's out here in this world that we tried doing one time and it was incredibly difficult to do. Okay. We stayed with it, got better at it, then we became master at it. It's the same exact thing. A firearm needs to be treated as a tool. It could be a matter of life or death, saving a situation, especially mothers out there and fathers as well. If there's somebody coming into your house or breaking into your house, not just coming into your house, but breaking into your house and so forth. You just want to be prepared. I'd rather you have something and not need it versus need it and not have it. That's just my,
Absolutely.
my thought process just when it comes to
Absolutely.
firearms.
I, yeah, I always
Absolutely.
tell people I would rather know I have it and can use it, you know, that way if anything ever happens, I'm good, than end up needing it and I don't know what could happen. So absolutely, I agree with you on that one.
All right.
Yeah.
You're right about that. I love guns just in general. So
I mean, so do I. I'm that person that if I'm not teaching a class, I'll go into the range and I'll see what everybody else is shooting. Cause I'm like, hey, what do you got today? And because I just love guns. I always tell people, I just love guns. Don't mind me. I'm just gonna, I always go and see what people are shooting or what they got, what new thing is out, it's just fun. I don't know. I'm lucky. I get to do this for a job. It's amazing. It's work, and like you said, it's work, and I'm tired, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. So yeah.
absolutely. Thank you, Stephanie, for
You're
stopping
welcome.
by,
Thank
sharing your
you.
firearms
Thank you.
experiences and everything like that.
Anytime.
Ladies,
Yeah.
if you're out there, you're new, looking to get into firearms, looking to she shooters, get yourself some lessons, talk to Stephanie. She will get y'all squared away. You don't have to be
Absolutely.
scared of it or worried about looking crazy or anything like that. Everybody's going to look crazy the first time they may try something new or something that may be a little bit challenging to them. But get out there, contact her. She'll get you squared away. All right.
Yep.
That's all I got for y'all
All
today.
right.
Until next time, we will welcome you back anytime, Stephanie. Thanks
Oh,
again for
I would
your
love
time.
to. Thank you.
Take care and have a good one.
Take care. Bye.